Afternoon, good evening. Oops, let me just close my door. Whatever time of day it is, wherever you are, welcome. I'm so happy you're here and happy Friday. We have been making our way through quite a significant chunk of topics in AI and fundraising. And I am so excited to start seeing how this body of work is coming together from these trainings. I want you to know where you can go to find everything. So I'm going to drop a link in here for you. Oh dear. Okay, so I'm going to let's see, where is it? Pardon me, I had it and then it was gone. Then it was there and then it was gone. So what I have done is I've put together all of these trainings that I've been doing and the resources that I give you. So I've got the video, the resources, supplementary trainings, the prompts, the decks, everything goes into this link right here. And hopefully you guys can all see this. It's a bit.ly link. It's the goods 2024. And I'll show you what that looks like really quickly. Oopsie, that's not me either. So take a look at this. So when you here's the screen share. So after today's session, go over to this bit.ly link and you'll find, so like we did ChatGPT and storytelling, secure and prepare for visits, prompting and GPT for better workflows. And today we're doing create your brand or personal voice, ChatGPT. So when you go in there, you get access to a drive that has, for some reason it's not showing up, but it's thinking, but you get access to a Google Drive that has all of these training materials here for you. So that link is in the comments. So feel free to avail yourself anytime. Maybe bookmark it because I'm always adding new things. And then if you're curious about some of these other little items on here, tomorrow I'm hosting a roundtable for women who are leading in AI. These are some of my absolute rock star friends and colleagues who are going to talk about their journey in AI. And tech and STEM in general, what it's been like to learn all these new things in the last year or so, what's on the horizon for them, what they predict in the future for all of us. So I do Saturday events from noon to 2 Pacific time every single weekend. Then we also have registration for our Donor Visits 2.0 course that launches March 18th. Highly recommend you check that out if you're in the fundraising profession. And then we've got this beginner's guide where you can grab that. And if you haven't done a lot of stuff with ChatGPT yet, that's a really good place to start. And then, like I said, all of the videos and prompts and resources from our trainings are in there. And these are the recordings of our weekend gatherings. Okay, so that's a little bit of information. I just wanted you all to know where you can go to find all of the training materials. And I hope you will, because it's becoming quite the library. So everybody, if you're here, let me know you're here. Little bit of tippy tappy, let me know who you are, where you're tuning in from. If you have any burning questions about using ChatGPT to generate content in your own voice or in your brand's voice, let me know, because I can certainly answer those. I am going to share my deck. And hopefully this will pop up. Yes, we're all in the right place, give or take. Let me get to my first slide. I hope everybody had a good week. How was it? Are you going to have a good weekend? Is it spring? Hi, Davis. Thank you for your note. That was just awesome of you. I really appreciate that. As we're starting to offer our services to more and more people, it's so helpful for us to have, quotes from people who've come to our workshops or hired us as consultants. And Davis was so awesome and sent me a recommendation that I could use. And it's on my LinkedIn recommendations right now. So thank you, Davis. I really appreciate that. That's important for us as we're, a relatively new company. So here we are. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you. And Kirsten, you're from Connecticut. Okay. Talk to me a little bit about how you've been using ChatGPT. What we're going to talk about today is one of those things where as you start to dabble in generative AI and you start talking to people, whether they're like colleagues or your friends and family at the hi Bob, 9 miles from Boston. You're talking to your friends and family, maybe you're talking to some other folks in the nonprofit sector. One of the things, if you haven't heard it already, and maybe you've even thought this, but one of the things you'll often hear is, yeah, well, ChatGPT can't sound like me, or ChatGPT can't speak in our brand voice. And the you know, implied sort of dot, dot, dot is, and so we shouldn't use it, right? The other thing people will say is, well, ChatGPT, the writing is so fluffy, it's bloated, it's all these adjectives, you can recognize it right away. And then, of course, the implied little dot, dot, dot is again, and so we shouldn't use it. And so for me, truth be told, having been out here and working with the tools for quite a while and, pushing the limits of them and really challenging my own biases and limiting beliefs, I kind of struggle when I hear people saying that stuff because I'm like, it's like such a toy opinion because we're all adults. We're all, highly intelligent people who should, in my mind, have an open enough mind that maybe this is a bias. That how hard have we tried to make ChatGPT speak in our voice or in our brand voice? And so today, I'm hopefully going to be able to debunk that for anyone who's watching, and then you'll be able to debunk it for people you run into. There are these moments working with generative AI where I have to I get up from my chair and walk around my room and wonder, like, is there a ghost in here? Like, how does it know what to do sometimes? And then there are moments where I'm just like, well, I mean, this was better than starting with a blank screen, right? So we're going to dive into some of the ways that we make this much better than a blank screen. Now, if you are a regular here, you've heard me say some of these things more than a few times. ChatGPT 4, aka ChatGPT Plus, is so much better than than 3.5 that some experts recommend don't even use ChatGPT if you're not going to use Plus. And I am on that team. It is such a difference. And because when folks onboard themselves with 3.5, the results are so disappointing that I gotta check. I gotta do something, you guys. I don't know what's happening with there we go. I think I just changed my branding. Yep, just changed my branding. I had the branding from from my the AI company I've co-founded up. Well, so that was Light Magic AI, by the way. Everybody, if you're wondering, my the company that I co-founded late last year with some amazing AI folks, consultants and builders, and we have a neurologist, a numerologist, brand expert, arts aficionados. I mean, our group is absolutely incredible, and soon, stay tuned. We're launching a bundle of AI solutions for nonprofits. So you'll hear more about that soon. But at any rate, sorry, I totally digress. Get ChatGPT Plus, please, please, please. And here's how it'll pay for itself. You use vision. So you take your phone, right? You take a picture of it. You take a picture of your refrigerator and your pantry. You put it, you just upload it into ChatGPT. You press one button and you say, what can I make for dinner with what I have on hand? I don't want to go to the store. Okay, so that's your first $20. So that's your first month. The next month is when you have, like, you know how everybody's going to start having like baby showers and graduations and weddings and all that kind of stuff. Don't buy a new outfit. Just take a picture of your closet, or, you know, wherever you keep, you know, next season's clothes. Take a picture and say, I am so sick of all these clothes. I want something cute and new to wear to this baby shower. ChatGPT will give you your outfit. You don't not need to buy anything new. And it will put your clothes together in a way that you wouldn't have. So you're just going to get to go shopping in your closet. So right there, you've got how many dollars in savings. You can put that into your $20 a month for your ChatGPT Plus subscription. And if you don't yet have ChatGPT Plus and you sign up for it, I desperately want you to email me and let me know. And then I will give you my GPTs, which are little apps that are made for fundraisers. Okay. I have these apps where you can make a thank you note, an impact report, a follow-up email. Like, it's all perfect, gorgeous, wonderful content. And I will give these things to you if you subscribe to ChatGPT Plus. Yeah, you know what? Anyone who has a Plus subscription, just email me and I will send them to you. And if you don't have one yet, go get one and then email me. Okay, again, I'm sorry for those of you who have to sit through my street cred, but I know that it would be so easy for folks to think I'm just some random lady on the internet. I spent 25 years in higher ed fundraising. I now am CEO and founder of Empowered Fundraiser, which is we do professional development at all levels, but mostly, you know, like our big offer is a comprehensive professional development program, but we also offer workshop packages in groups of 4. So we sell 4 of our workshops in one package for $10,000 to large enterprise clients. And I have a new lead consultant working with our enterprise clients to select the best workshops for them. So that's one of the things that we do. We do consulting, pretty much anything, any normal, you know, fundraising function and fundraising adjacent stuff that you can imagine, we do. We have subject matter experts who work with us. And then the third thing is we bring AI to the nonprofit world. So what I've been working on in the past year is total passion project. I want to train as many frontline fundraisers as possible and for free. So right now we're up to 1,700. I don't know how I'm going to count, you know, with doing this on Fridays. I don't know how, but I want to somehow find a way to include those of you who are coming to my sessions. I've got, you know, the credentialing. I helped with a bunch of other really, really thoughtful experts launch the framework for responsible AI in fundraising, which please go to, and I'll drop this in the chat, please go to fundraising.ai and check out the framework for responsible AI, the framework toward responsible AI in fundraising. Because even if you're not in the nonprofit sector, let's say, even if you're in another industry altogether, it is, even if you're a marketer, like, and you're not doing fundraising, this framework applies to so many different areas. And it's really, I think, going to be soothing to see that your industry has created a framework that addresses all those things that, donors, staff, leaders, volunteers, participants, we're all worried about stuff like data security and privacy, right? Bias, continuous learning, explainability, and transparency, legality, and that's all in the framework. Like I mentioned, I'm co-founder of an AI company called Light Magic AI. And I have been tasked with doing tech rollouts and change stewardship in the past. So I've gone through the aches and pains of implementing new technology. And then it may seem like just a little deal, but the fact that we at Empowered Fundraiser are an AI first company is actually one of my biggest qualifications for doing what I do in AI, like teaching and consulting, because I am living the experience of AIifying one's company, and it's amazing. And day to day, I'm learning new things that I can bring to you all. There's growing pains, and I know what my clients will experience. And then there's like the leveling up that occurs. And when your face melts and you're like, what in the world? How does all of this stuff work? And what's my life going to be like now that I can do everything better? Right? Like, quick example. And I promise we're going to get to the prompting really soon, but here's an example. And think about this, as a fundraiser. So here's the example I'll give you from our business. When we've been in negotiations with a client, just like when we're all in negotiations with donors, there comes the moment where we're ready to share like a scope of work or a gift agreement or a contract or whatever. Well, it could take a really long time to write those documents, let alone a proposal. Proposal is a whole other thing. And the longer we take on something like, a contract, the longer it is before we close that gift or get paid. When we can create a contract that's perfect, right? Like, we have the peace of mind knowing that this is like really perfect for us. We've refined it, right? Like, the language is accurate, everything about it is good, and we don't have to second guess ourselves a whole bunch of times. We get paid faster, just like you then close the gift faster. So it's things like that where you start implementing generative AI and you go, oh, I get it. I know how to use generative AI. And now I have more money in my bank account. Like, that's pretty awesome. So in our training today, I'm going to be able to take you from like where you are right now to being really decent at voice prompting. I can take you to amazing. Gosh, my Slack is going off. I could take you to amazing when I have more time with you. We are going to implement a lot of AI into our Donor Visits 2.0 workshop this year. So I launched this workshop was actually probably, I don't know, 50% of the reason why I decided to be a consultant, because I wanted to share this learning opportunity with fundraisers across all the sectors. This is my baby. And it's for anyone who, relies on spending one-on-one time with donors in order to meet the goals for their job. So like, if you are having a hard time getting people on your calendar, if you are having a hard time having the kind of visits that lead to proposals, if you're having good visits, but then people aren't following up with you, if you have a bajillion people in your portfolio and you got to scale all this work on a big, big level, like that's not intuitive. Or if you have a tiny, tiny, tiny portfolio, this workshop, I think it's 6 sessions, it might be 5. But just go to this bit.ly link, and which is, by the way, HTTP. Oh, that might not be the right link. Is that how that link is written? Let me double check real quick. We're just homegrown here. We just do things, on the fly. Yeah, that's not even the right link, Anne. Silly. Anyway, you get the point, right? Like, we're going to do our very best today. And also, we need more time together to make it super dope. And this is what we do. We schedule, facilitate, follow up, and scale. That's what we work on in Donor Visits 2.0. Okay. In the previous few workshops, we have gone through a whole bunch of different prompts. And in a lot of cases, I've just given you the prompt. So you didn't really have to learn how to write it. And by the way, this is like a really good, like if you took all these prompts that I've given you and put them in your own prompt library, this is a really good foundation for having a library of prompts as a fundraiser that like addresses a lot of the things that you do. I mean, there's still whole other worlds. We haven't gotten into like event planning, for example, but this is becoming a pretty good foundation. So I do encourage you to go to my link tree to get those prompts and start putting them into a library for yourself. And one of these days, I'll show you how I organize my library. Okay, so the way that we write the prompts is using the core framework. We want to be thinking about collaborating with the model, right? So we're working with the model like it's a super smart intern. We are going to organize our prompts so it's easy for the model to understand. And then, of course, we're going to organize them so that we can find them later. We're always going to give a rundown of context and examples, and you're going to see in real time how we do some examples. And then we're going to provide it with explicit instructions. So as I teach the universal voice prompting today, you're going to see these principles in action. So I'm just going to walk through this example. So let's say we were writing an outreach email. One way to do that is to just like use my prompt that I gave you. You could just cut this and paste it, and you're going to get a pretty darn good email. But if you want it to come out sounding more like you on the first take or the second take, that's where voice prompting comes in. What we need to do is teach the model how we talk. Okay. So let's see. Bob says, I love that. Yeah. Use ChatGPT AI to take notes and save the notes to a file on a specific statement, thought, quote, etc. I ask AI to expand on that. That's awesome, Bob. So are you talking about on Zoom meetings, or did you buy Plod? There's now a little piece of hardware that you can put on the back of your phone to record your in-person meetings too. I am a massive, massive fan of recording meetings and then interrogating the transcript later for insights. So good, so good, so good. So when we create a universal voice prompt, what we need to do is we need ChatGPT to think of itself as some, combination of roles that understands how people talk, understands what's the most effective way to communicate. So, for example, you can think about a prompt engineer, obviously, right? You want a prompt engineer working on your project. A linguist would be a helpful role for being able to write something really well, to understand how written content is kind of constructed. A college writing professor, I think, is a good role for understanding somebody's voice. Content marketer. What you can do when you are working on any prompt and you're coming up with like, what's the role to give ChatGPT? You can actually ask ChatGPT. You could say, I am working on a project to let's say I'm working on a speech, a graduation speech. What kind of a role or a position, what type of a job is good at writing a speech for graduation? Just ask ChatGPT, and it'll probably come back and say some version of a speech writer, right? So you're like, okay, hey, ChatGPT, I need your help with writing a graduation speech. You are an expert award winning speech writer. Okay. So in this case, for creating a universal voice prompt, you're saying essentially, you are the kind of person or you are the kind of expert who understands how words work, right? How voice sounds. So we've got a prompt engineer, a linguist, a college writing professor, and a content marketer. So we're starting out our prompt with those roles. And then the rest of our prompt is we're going to be asking these roles to analyze a couple of our writing samples using a bunch of linguistic techniques and to tell us to describe our voice to us. So I hope that makes sense. So our goal with creating a universal voice prompt is that we will end up with a paragraph that describes the way we sound. Does that make sense? So let's say you're going to use a transcript from a meeting. Like, Bob, if you're recording, let's just say you're recording a retreat that you're facilitating. One thing you could do is you could download that transcript, ask ChatGPT to just pull out the parts where you were talking. And then that's one of your samples that you're going to use. And you're going to say, review this content and describe how I sound, describe my voice. Or you could take, let's say there's a type of email you have to write over and over and over again. For example, maybe it's a report to the board. Maybe every month you write a report, or maybe you write it on behalf of your executive director. And you've reached a point where like you like the way the report sounds. Well, then you might upload 3 samples of that report and ask ChatGPT to analyze those. And ChatGPT is going to say something like, for the purposes of your monthly report, the voice, style, tone, syntax, blah, 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 sounds like this. And then I'm going to demonstrate all this, by the way. And then you're going to take that paragraph, and that is your universal voice prompt for your memos or whatever other writing is similar to that. So like I have a voice prompt for when I'm writing remarks for myself. I have one for when I'm writing boring emails. I have one for when I'm writing interesting emails. I have one for my newsletters. So I've even created, multiples of them for the different ways that I need to communicate. And the reason that this is beautiful is because, my goal with what I'm teaching you all through this series is to get you to the point where if you're using ChatGPT for generating content, the content that you're getting out is like 85% of the way to good, right? Where you're going to have to edit it, but it's not a ton of editing. It's just a little bit of editing. Well, with universal voice prompting, now you can get even closer. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come up with, we'll do this together. And if you are sitting in front of your computer, please, call up your ChatGPT and do this. We can do this side by side. What I have to do is I'm trying to think what do I want to do first? I want to create a voice For what kind of writing? What is anyone working on like a big project right now, a writing project? Maybe it could give me inspiration. What could I do for you all today? Let's say, how about this? I'm going to take 3 of my most recent newsletter articles, and I'm going to put them into ChatGPT, and we will see what my newsletter voice is like, okay? So, it's a little clunky. We're just going to go through this like a couple of friends would. Who knows why I had to log back in? Don't know. For those of you who don't know, over here on the left-hand side, these things here are GPTs. And I'll just give you an example of like one that I created. So if you get GPT, if you don't have GPT Plus, go get it and then email me at my email address here, ann@empoweredfundraiser.com, and I'll send you this GPT. And this is how I've already programmed this GPT to sound like a really experienced development officer who has about the same kind of tone and language that I have. I toned it down a little bit because my writing is a little bit voicey. Like my writing is more like me. Ooh, goody, Bob, what do you got? Meeting with a president of a learning institute on Tuesday to share my speech on how people think in the executive leadership world. Meeting with a president of a learning institute on Tuesday to share my speech on how people think in the executive leadership world. Okay, well, this example might work really well for you then. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to, Bob, it sounds like, are you a speechwriter? Are you just a really good content writer? I think I really love what you're up to. I want to know how people think in the executive leadership world. Okay, so let's see. I am just going to grab a couple of, you know what, this is going to take forever. What's a good way for me to get, how about, trying to think about the best way for me to get, you're a keynote speaker and elite performance coach. Awesome. Do you have a particular niche that you work in? Are you in any particular vertical, or is it just for everybody? Here's what I'm going to do. If you're on the call and you have like an email list, you know this drill here. Okay, so here's one. I just wrote, so I have 2 newsletters. One is for higher ed advancement professionals, and then my other one is for all nonprofit fundraising professionals. And this is, you're just kind of seeing the inner workings of my CRM right now. So hopefully that's not like too incredibly boring, but it probably is. Where is my ChatGPT? Okay, so I'm just gonna put, here's what I do. So I just start putting my writing samples in there, and I'll just say sample 1, sample number 1. Okay, I'm just basically getting things ready right now. So there's a sample. Now I'm going to put sample number 2. And I'll go back here. Let me do this over here so I don't have to drag you guys into my whole world of my newsletter thing. While I'm doing this, have you guys seen the Did you guys see all the stuff that came out? Gemini? People are getting pretty excited, but also people are also really disappointed. In one of the communities that I'm part of, one of the AI communities, there's an official term that we use. And sorry, there's some profanity coming in a second here, but we always say that all AI is just janky piece of shit right now, because everything today is as bad as it's ever going to get. Like, that's the thing, is it's getting so much better every single day that you can't it's hard. You get super excited, and then you get access to the tool, and you're like, yeah, it's super awesome. And then you're like, oh, but wait a second. It's not completely super awesome. It's like medium super awesome, because it's also still a, you know what, janky piece of shit. So this is, just the way you kind of have to think about things, is always having an open mind. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is add sample number 2. And we're just going to do 2 samples for today. So I just got my sample number 1 and my sample number 2 into ChatGPT. Okay. And then I'm going to pull the prompt that I use into ChatGPT. And this prompt will be in the packet. But basically what it says is, and this is a whole big hot mess, analyze, I need to say, here's where we are right now. Pulling this presentation in, show you where we are. Ooh, whale advocacy company? Oh my goodness gracious, how fun is that? Whale advocacy company and historical events to celebrate the 250th anniversary of 1775 in Boston. Wow, that's cool. What's the speech going to be about? All right, sorry about the delay here, everybody. You know how it goes. It's Friday. So what I'm going to do is, as I shared, we are going to tell ChatGPT that it is a prompt engineer, linguist, college writing professor, and content marketer. Okay, so let me do that. And then these are the prompts that I'm putting in there. So we have, analyze a sample text using the following 10 linguistics techniques: sentence length, structure analysis, word choice, vocabulary, tone and mood, syntax, semantic, pragmatic, blah, 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 right? All of these things that are like ways to understand how we talk, how we sound. And then it will create a writing style profile and style guide, aka a universal voice prompt. So we will go back to ChatGPT and we will add that prompt in. Isn't this fun? I love that. Influence mastery, I talk all the time, Bob, about leading from where you are, and how, leadership is oftentimes about so much more than like a title. I mean, I can't even, it's tricky because we still want to think, right? Like, we're still oriented around titles in a lot of ways in our world, but increasingly, title has very little to do with actual leadership. And I think it's especially, apparent when we have so many leaders who are not actually good leaders, or people who are in leadership roles who are not actually good leaders, right? Like, I would much rather be led by my earlier career colleagues right now than most of my colleagues who are like older than me or even my peers. I am way happier to be influenced by a different generation because I love their new ideas. I love their approach, and their influence on me is like super significant. Whereas other, like people in my life who might have some like a leadership role title or whatever, I just don't care. It's just not impressive to me anymore, you know? I don't know about you, but maybe it has to do with being of a certain age. Okay, so I'm going to say you are a prompt engineer, linguist, college writing professor, and content. I don't know what I said. I need your help to develop a universal voice prompt for my newsletter. I'm going to say this is a two-step process. This is a two-step process. So step one is we're having it analyze our writing, okay? Let me make sure I didn't accidentally put step two in here too. Right, okay, so analyze the sample text using 10 linguistic techniques. Okay, so I've got my prompt in there, then I've got sample one and I've got sample two. Okay, and let's see now what it says about my writing. So it says I utilize, this is just for my newsletter. Actually, it's just for one of my newsletters. I have kind of two different sort of voices. Sentence length, structure analysis, word choice. Let's see if I like what it says. Varied sentence lengths, that's true. Short, impactful statements to convey emotional resonance, followed by longer explanatory sentences. Leans toward, okay, more informative, utilizes vocabulary that's both accessible and emotionally charged with terms like imposter syndrome and self-doubt resonating on a personal level. Focuses on professional terminology such as personal brand, value proposition, and fundraising capabilities. Presents a compassionate, understanding tone, acknowledging feeling of inadequacy while encouraging a shift in perspective. Oh, feelings of inadequacy, because one was about imposter syndrome, the other one was about personal branding. Semantics, pragmatic, stylistic, subtly employs metaphor and repetition, uses direct address, that's all true. Narrative arc begins with personal reflection, moves into a discussion of a common issue, and concludes with a call to action. So this is all true, right? So this story, crocuses popped up over the weekend, the first sign of spring, next daffodils. I love how the first flowers come up in waves, one variety at a time. Crocuses, daffodils, then tulips, then rhododendron. This is a good time of year to rethink a few dusty old ideas. Imposter syndrome it is. So that sounds like the description. So it's given, now that it's given those pointers, that analysis, now I'm going to put phase 2 of the prompt in. So step 2 is create a writing style profile and style guide using 10 writing techniques analyzed from step 1, rephrase and format them into a writing style profile and style guide. This will serve as a simple actionable guide for creating content in the analyzed style. Wow, that was a lot of words to say, really just kind of summarize this. Oh, I love it, Bob. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I was just talking to somebody this morning. In fact, the guy who's his Slack message popped up while I was demoing. I was just talking to a friend this morning about how there's so many of us in the AI space who know, like there's a core set of skills that we all have, right? There's a core set of things that you could pick any one of us and we could do it. And then, of course, each of us also have our other zones of genius beyond that. But when people are deciding which one of us to work with, it's not necessarily based on, I know A, B, and C, plus I also know D. It's like, I know A, B, and C, and those are the things that you approximately are interested in. And so knows A, B, and C, and E, but you want to work with me because I'm me, right? You want to work with me because of my unique identity, the way that I come across, the way that it seems like it would be to work with me. And so this was the conversation I was having with my friend of like, your personal brand is totally unique to you. It is absolutely amazing. People are going to want to work with you, not because of, just your expertise, which is like a super impressive, he's got really a fantastic, um, dossier, but he's also just like an amazing human. And that's how we decide who we want to work with, in my opinion, anyway. The people who come to me 100% come to me because it's just the vibes. I have the expertise. That's awesome. Like, there aren't that many people in the nonprofit sector who are teaching this stuff, and I get that. But the reason why people want to work with me is because of who I am. So I make an effort to be exactly myself at all times. So I love that you're having these conversations with people, Bob. Okay, so here's the guide now. So core attributes of my writing. And here's a style guide. So this is one way to do it. Sometimes all you want is a paragraph, but what you would do is you would take this and you would save it into like a Google Doc or Trello or Sheets or OneNote or Notion, wherever you like to organize your information. You would put this somewhere so that you can pull it into your projects later and you'll refine it. So let me start. So I just got this. So now let me demonstrate how I would use it. So I'm going to say you are actually, you know what? Watch this. Just in case you don't know and you're on a PC, you can hit that little Windows key plus H. And now ChatGPT will listen to you. You are an editor of a magazine for outdoor enthusiasts, specifically those who are long distance solo backpackers. I'm writing an article about the John Muir Trail and what we can expect for the year ahead. And it includes a significant section about self-confidence and our ability to lead while we are out on the trail. My personal philosophy is that it's best to be the kind of hiker who acknowledges others and who is eager to help and who creates a greater sense of community by asking about people and how they're doing and how they're feeling and where they're going. And that's one of the ways that you develop community out on the trail. I need you to use the following voice prompt to write this article. And right now I'm going to paste that in. Okay, so obviously that was a very, very limited set of information about an article I'm writing. Title, Leading the Way, Self-Confidence and Community on the John Muir Trail. Let's see how we think it did with my writing style. Yeah, so this is not perfect, but it's not horrible. Like, this is the kind of stuff I would say. I don't think I would say it in such a wordy way, But this is a good opportunity for us to talk about custom instructions. So if you don't know this already, in the lower left-hand corner is custom instructions. And this is where you're going to tell ChatGPT what it needs to know about you to create better responses, and how would you like ChatGPT to respond. Now, one of the issues that we're having here is it's using some of these really hackneyed words. Like, for example, what did it say? Had like, I don't know, it had some of the words that sound just really fluffy, but we ask it not to say competitive landscape, fast-paced world, buckle up, digital age, dive in, fear not, game-changing, all these like really, oh, ChatGPT 100%, Gary or Jerry. Yeah, I am not yet particularly impressed with Gemini Advance. Uh, you know, everything has to start somewhere, but maybe eventually we'll be all hopping over. But right now, ChatGPT is still by far, far and away. I wouldn't pay for Gemini Advance personally. Not right now. So, okay, so you can see that this writing is still kind of bloated, and this is not exactly right for me. So what I would begin doing is going back and updating my universal prompt. Um, but what I would say here to improve upon this, I wanted to show you how I would improve upon a piece of writing, because I think particularly, Bob, this is going to be helpful for you, is I'm going to say, this is a good start. Well done. And do you all know that giving ChatGPT praise will help it provide better results? It's true. And if you're really struggling, you can say stuff like, I believe in you, and this is really important, and I need us to get this right. And if you get this right, I'll give you $100 tip, and it will actually give you better responses. Like, this is actually a pretty lazy response. In fact, here's what we're going to do. We're going to regenerate it first. Did you see what I did? It was just that little, there was a little swirl. I hit that swirl because I just want to see if I regenerate it, it's going to do a slightly better job. Okay. The heart of every long distance solo backpacker beats the rhythm of an unspoken journey. So it's like, I love that sentence, but if I was going to write one sentence like that, I wouldn't write like 3 or 4 more sentences like that. So this doesn't have me down quite right, but ventures into the realms of self-discovery and community building. Okay, so now I'm going to say, this is a good start. Well done. Oh, but see what it did? Because in my newsletter, I provide actionable steps. It created them for me. So it did that part of my writing perfectly. And by the way, this is still good. It's not how I write. I just don't write this. To me, like, I wouldn't read this. It's just too much. It's blah, blah, blah. I'm going to say, let's make a couple of upgrades. Let's make a couple of upgrades, but don't change much else. Okay, 1. I'm always gonna say fewer adjectives. I'm gonna say tone down any superlatives. I'm gonna say vary sentence structure more. I always have to say this. Always. These three things I almost always have to say. And this one I always say, because do not use rhetorical questions, because ChatGPT has ruined rhetorical questions. Whenever you see people writing on social media and it says like, what's the solution? Or, I don't know, what did it say in here? What did it say? Oh, maybe it didn't. Maybe it was only in the first one. Well, just in case there's a rhetorical question living in there, and I'm just going to say shorter paragraphs. Remember, people do not read. Okay, so let's just see if it does a little bit better job. And I know we're coming up on our hour. We've got 4 minutes, and I will wrap this up and I'll tell you where to go to get more information. Okay, so now good. It's got the shorter paragraphs. Trails to Triumph, leading the way on the John Muir Trail. Oh, also, I usually tell it to give me 4 or 5 examples of any, if you're looking for a subject line in an email, a title for an event, a title for a newsletter, an article, anything, always have it give you like 5 or 6, 7, 10, 12, whatever examples to choose from. In every long distance solo backpacker's heart beats a journey beyond the physical landscapes. That is actually something that I have said. So this is pretty cool. Acknowledgement as leadership, building self-confidence, our unseen companion. There we go. We've got my steps. This is exactly what I talked about. Initiate conversations, share knowledge and resources, embrace vulnerability, and I didn't say celebrate together, but that's a really nice addition that I hadn't thought of. Look, it's not bad. So that voice prompt is not perfect, but it's also not too shabby. If I were to take this, cut and paste it out into a Google Doc, it would probably take me, let's say I wanted this to be ready to go out to my newsletter audience. I think that I could edit this 10 minutes, 15 maybe, 10 probably. So that's pretty good. So I have that universal voice prompt. I never have to spend time making that ever again, right? It's good. I could go back and revisit it by putting like 5 or 6 samples in to see if it could dial in a little bit more, but I've got the universal voice prompt. You saw me just download a bunch of information. Usually what I'm doing with my newsletter is I'm taking something I've already written because I have like a whole book of writing that I've done before I became a consultant and thought leader. So I'll take another piece of writing and I'll put it in there and I'll say, update this with my writing, with my new voice. Now, really quickly, I was supposed to talk more about brand voice. Just imagine doing this exact same thing, but say maybe you're using newsletter articles or blog posts or speeches that your executive director has given, anything from your website. Maybe you're using, like, taking your brand guide if you have that and incorporating that. So basically you're just pointing to other samples. So this process works for any kind of writing sample, right? And definitely use it for transcripts. So if you have to write speeches for somebody, oh, absolutely, Bob. If you have to write speeches for anybody under the sun, and you can practice this by saying, I need to write a speech for, and say, the president of the Association for Historic Landmarks in Massachusetts. Go back and get that person's last 5 speeches or their blurb or whatever. Put that in there. And then when you write the speech, it's not that you're trying to say, you're not trying to say, what you're trying to say is, this is pretty darn close to your voice. You're not trying to say, I ghost wrote this for you, or, you're not trying to pan it off as more than it is, but you're saying, I studied your voice, working with ChatGPT, I studied your syntax, your voice, the way you sound, like the way your voice, whatever, how you communicate. And I wrote this speech in that style. So voila, that should cut down on a lot of the going back and forth if you're a speechwriter. So again, go to this, at the top, we've got the bit.ly. Go to this website and you're going to see the recordings from each of these sessions. I will add this plus the resources either later on today or tomorrow. And keep coming back on Fridays. It's every Friday at 11. I think next week I'm going to continue on the content part. So we're going to create some more content. I'm going to teach you how to do something new. And then we're going to move into talking about using ChatGPT as a strategist. I think that's the kind of path I want to go down. So please, everybody, have a fantastic weekend. If you're watching this on the replay, just DM me with questions. Or leave them in the comments there, and I will, I usually go back and check every once in a while to see if people have added additional comments. I'm Ann Murphy, and I am honored to have been here with all of you today, and appreciate that you're putting in this work to help elevate our nonprofit sector and use AI responsibly. Take care and have a beautiful weekend. Bye, everybody.